Innovus's customers are all over the place, from small, medium-sized businesses to large enterprises doing millions of transactions a day. We had to look in the marketplace for folks that had real-time integration, high throughput.
One of the unexpected surprises was the huge performance increase that we had.
We have everything from small amounts of data where people have, a couple gigs of data that are going back and forth, to the 15 to 20 to 30 to 50 gigs of data on a daily basis.
So we're processing probably 500,000 to 1 million transactions within a day, every day, and processing them for a variety of customers.
For large clients, we deal in hundreds of gigabytes of data, but the problem is that we face is that the data comes from legacy systems, so there's a lot of data transformation. Data integrator basically gave the performance edge out of the box. So when we deploy our solutions, the one component that we didn't have to worry about when it comes to performance was actually our data transformation portion of our solution. When you bring a client from one system to another over a fiscal year, usually your window is very, very slim. And so that hundreds of gigabytes of data seems to now feel like hundreds of terabytes of data, because in some cases with a phased implementation, we have to look for saving minutes here and there just to get it within a certain processing window.
The mainframe itself used to take an hour or two to run. We now run it in 15 minutes.
We deal with exceedingly large-scale systems, so it's very large data volumes. Major banks, energy companies, telecoms, healthcare companies. And so, for instance, for one of the banks, a single line of business is roughly 20 million transactions a day. But, they have many lines of business, there are many banks, there are multiple energy companies. So we're talking about many, many terabytes of data. So processing times are critical, so performance is critical.
I'm also very interested in what's going to happen with the data matcher product. Right now it doesn't have an interface, but it's very fast. It works on the data rush, which I'm very motivated to try out with the size data that I have. Well, the kinds of data volumes we deal with for the residential mortgages, you'd figure that there are about 7,000 or 8,000 deals on the market. There would be about, each deal may have 7 to, 15,000 loans. And then we actually capture the performance data, which happens each month. So you can do the math, but basically what it turns out to is about 2 terabytes we're up to right now, and it's growing still. So.
In the last year, much of our work has now taken us much more toward the federal sector, which, as you can imagine, has a lot of implications in terms of very large amounts of information in the likes of the VHA and any programs that had to do with Health and Human Services, whether that's National Institute of Health or CMS or whoever it might be.
We're seeing more and more companies today that have applications, SaaS applications, and they want to be able to integrate those applications together. And so how do you do that today? And I think that Pervasive has responded to the marketplace with some very, very valuable tools, the data matcher with data rush, as well as their cloud integration tool. As CloudTrigger looks forward into 2010, 2011, we see the amount of data growing. In fact, I think Gartner recently came out with some research that suggested that we would be looking at something like 200 exabytes of data being processed. And the implication of that type of data, the volume of data, is one, how do we actually process that volume of data? And I think that what Pervasive has done is they've created a tool and a solution around called Data Rush, which allows them to really take advantage of massive parallelism. So that's a huge win for I think Pervasive and for companies that are trying to solve complex problems, whether it's fraud and how do you analyze fraud more quickly in the credit card space and the internet space, or if it's valuable data with maybe your customer data. You've got massive amounts of customer data And you want to understand those challenges and those problems more quickly so that you can respond to them in a timely manner. We have clients that literally today are crunching data analysis over a 3-month period. With Data Rush, they're able to take that same amount of information and process it in 3 hours.
Over each of the previous past 2 years, we've had a 250% increase in data volumes. So we may receive files that are 10, 20 gigabytes in size that we have to process for a single customer. I know our data stores are well into the terabytes. I don't have the exact numbers, but they're big.
We place substitute teachers nationwide. So, in fact, I just checked with the system this morning. This morning, on a bright day in late April, we placed 86,000 substitute teachers nationwide for about 1,700 school districts.